Good morning. Okay, we've been talking a lot about what I do in the business of sales. A lot of people ask me a ton of questions as to my particular sales, which is B2B, business to business. Um, and I know you guys out there that are in sales, you're in multiple sales verticals. Some of you are selling high ticket over the phone remotely. You're doing other types of sales remotely. Uh, Other ones are doing door to door, and some of you, like me, are probably going what is referred to as store to store. I don't go door to door residentially, but I do go door to door as far as stores are concerned. So I do go store to store. And I've been giving you guys a lot of perspective relative to what to do, when to do, how to do, kind of like everybody else does in these types of videos. But I never really give you a behind the scenes insight as to why I do what I do and how I do what I do, not from a mechanic standpoint, but like sometimes one of my sales prospecting calls might be really, really powerful. And other times I might say the same words, I may make the same moves, but they're not as powerful. And I'm not talking about in terms of, yes, they agreed to talk more about my value proposition, or yes, they agreed to give me an appointment. But I'm talking more about how I felt within the process of making those calls. And so what I started to do was become a lot more consistent and structured in terms of how I set myself up. They people talk a lot about mindset, and mindset is important, absolutely. But I'm talking a little bit more about an emotional set. How do I feel within the moment that I am participating in whatever element of my sales process it is? So today I have a number of follow through prospecting calls that need to be made because I do have a number of deals in my pipeline that are no longer potential possibilities. There are now active probabilities. Okay. And an active probability, it isn't predictable, but it's statistically weighted either toward an end result that I'm looking to make the sale, or less weighted toward that, more weighted toward not. So if the statistical probability is lower, or if it's medium, or if it's high, doesn't really matter. What matters is that I am in a statistical probability stage as far as how I feel about a particular follow through target, so that my pipeline has integrity, if you will. Integrity in terms of it's no longer a dream pipeline. It's more of a pipeline that's based upon reasonability. Is it reasonable to think that this person is a legitimate probability lead? And is it believable to me that this is indeed a legitimate probability lead? So the next thing they talk about, post mindset, and of course I just talked about emotional feeling, belief set, if you will, within the moment, is is identity. Because I think that the identity that you assume within any particular segment, or the identity that you assume even with any particular execution you make within the sales process, is important as well too. So the first step in my identity formulation is to identify all of the targets that I have right now that are of the highest probability in terms of being legitimate probability leads. That would mean that they would go from medium probability statistically in terms of a good end result to high probability. If they're low probability, I'm going to leave those aside for right now, and I'll schedule those for later. I'm not going to waste them, but I'll schedule them later. But today, I want to focus on my medium to highest probabilities. And the first step that I'm going to take is not to hit the list. The first step that I'm going to take is to review the lists in order to discern which are medium probabilities, which are high probabilities. And then I'm going to go a step further and I'm going to create an identity relevant to the entire segment. So if there's like 9 or 10 of them or 20 of them, number doesn't matter. But what matters is what I do identify. It could be 3. Is to get myself into a quantum set, not just a mindset, but to create an identity within that moment for myself that will be in the right space mentally, in the right place, feeling, belief, emotionally. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 100% signal, 0% noise, focus in on that block, and I'm going to crush it. It might take an hour, it might take 3 or 4 hours, but that's what I'm going to do first. So that's how I'm going to approach today. You see, I'm not going to approach it in terms of I want to make 100 phone calls today, or I want to follow up 100 possibilities today. I'm going to do it very selectively, very focused. And again, I'm going to create the mindset, I'm going to create the emotional set, and I'm going to create the identity set necessary for me to perform at the highest levels possible. I'll get back to you.